thank you for coming, and welcome to the Scottsdale City Council Candidates Forum on Public Policy. My name is John Gulick, and I will serve as your moderator tonight. And I wish to thank the sponsors of this event tonight, and they are the Police Officers of Scottsdale Association and the Scottsdale Firefighters Association. And candidates, we want to thank all of you for attending this fine event. We're going to try and make this a conversational approach, even though with 11 that can be a little bit difficult, but we're going to make it work. The election will be for 3 Scottsdale City Council seats, and that election will be held on August 28, 2012. And eventually 3 of these candidates before you will hold these seats as city councilmen, and as selected by the voters, and every one of your votes count. So I know we're all going to be paying attention to this. Thanks again for being here. Now, on an outline of some of what we're going to proceed on the subject matter, the focus is public policy. Candidates, please confine your participation to public policy. Now, maybe the last time you hear me say that, but it may not be. But please do. On our process, focus your attention on the moderator, not because it's about me, but we have to keep it in an organized fashion here. The timekeeper is Lois, and she will be signaling you when you have 30 seconds left on the 2 time periods that we're going to be dealing with, which are your introductions and your closing statement. Beyond that, it's up to all of us to regulate ourselves on the subject matter and the time and the participation. While direct conversation to and among your fellow candidates will be encouraged when appropriate, please again go through the moderator by a raised hand for recognition. I will attempt to get to you in some type of orderly fashion. And I will do my best to keep everyone involved. On our introductions, the introduction of the candidates, we're going to have 2 minutes, and the process will be this. We're going to start at the left-hand side with Ms. Phillips, and she's going to do 2 things, which each of you will do. You will introduce yourselves, and then you will introduce the candidate to your left. And that'll be completed in 2 minutes, and I will studiously see that that's the truth. When that gets to Mr. Brown, he will introduce himself, and he will introduce me, and we will have completed this circle amongst us, and then we will get into the subject matter of the program, public safety. So, with that in mind, Ms. Phillips, thank you for joining us, and your 2 minutes, please introduce yourself.
Good evening. I'm Joanne Phillips, and I am more delighted than you can imagine to be here today. I will be spending most of my time standing just for medical issues right now. It's just more comfortable for me. Most people can't tell if I'm standing or sitting, to be honest, anyway, so it's probably not going to make that much of a difference. I've been a Scottsdale resident for 29 years. I've lived in South Scottsdale at 8315 East Lewis, in Central at 11444 North 88th Place, and I currently live in North Scottsdale. And I've got to tell you, the needs and the character are very different for all 3 areas, but I think having lived in all 3 areas makes me a little more sensitive to what those needs are, as diverse as they are. I'm glad that John really talked about public policy, because public policy in governance of a city is as important as the general plan is for the growth and development of the city. And our public policy also encompasses safety needs, how we treat our employees, how we treat our citizenry, various safety codes and whatnot. Sometimes we don't have a choice in public policy. Like when the legislature dictated that if you didn't have a current sprinkler system ordinance, you couldn't have one. We're smart enough, we already had one. So we're not total masters of public policy, sometimes we're dictated to. But I think Scottsdale, by and large, has ordinances that work. I look at the background of the city historically. It's the finest place to live. I don't think there's any other place in this country that I would want to live, and with a home business, I can live anywhere. Bottom line is, my first and foremost reason for running for council is because I wanted to be a stronger voice for the citizenry. Because I truly believe the citizens are what really make up a city. Citizens in tandem with employees make the city run. So with that kind of tells you a little bit of who I am. I was also country western dance teacher for City of Scottsdale, so if I hear music, don't be surprised. This is Joe Meli to my left.
My name is Joe Meli. I am running for Scottsdale City Council as well. I, like Copper, live in the north. I've lived here for 10 years. It's just a beautiful thing to be able to love your city so much that you'd step forward and say, in spite of all that is required to become a council member, it's more than worth it. My wife and I, we've been blessed in our life, and we think that this is the ultimate expression of love for our community, is to serve our community. My youngest son is attending, or wants to attend, he hopes, the Annapolis Naval Academy when he graduates from high school next year. And we had sort of this discussion where he said, you know, Dad, it's going to be really tough to do. And I said, yeah, I get that. He said, well, you know, if you run for city council, I'll apply. I said, okay, I'll do that. And I have to tell you, he's got the better end of the deal. But he may say differently later on. In terms of why we're here tonight, it's an exciting time for our city to have this many candidates willing to want to run. I think that says something about, as Copper was speaking, the voice of our citizens being heard. I think we are in charge as candidates, or at least we're responsible as candidates, for speaking for the needs of the community and what's involved with that. So our main mission as candidates is to be able to spread that to the city and say, you will vote for us, this is what to expect. And I think tonight we're going to see a great representation of that. Thank you very much. This gentleman is Mr. Bill Crawford.
Hello. First of all, to all of the people, men and women who serve in law enforcement and fire, thank you for your service. We all know that it means a great deal to us. I'm going to address the 600-pound gorilla that's in the room. Is this mic on? Can you hear me? Okay. And that is, I have been critical of law enforcement procedures, policies, and resources in downtown Scottsdale. I think everybody knows that. Because of that criticism, I have had some pretty vicious attacks by some of the command within the Scottsdale Police Department. It's okay, I can handle it. But because of that, I'm not going to address any personal questions or anything that has anything to do with any of that stuff tonight. I came here to talk about the issues. So as long as we're clear on that, we're going to go forward. With that stated, as a member of the law enforcement community with some of the volunteer work that I do, I don't have a higher priority in any municipality than public safety. And the people that make public safety work for us. That's the fire and the police officers. Throughout my life, I've done a lot of different things. I've run successful businesses for 35 years. My wife, Debbie, and I have operated a successful business in downtown Scottsdale since 1996. Even though we're busy, I volunteer for a lot of projects. I was recently inducted into the National Fitness Hall of Fame, but I've served on volunteer fire department, mountain rescue. I've served on the U.S. Navy with outside programs. I serve on the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. I was on the United States Olympic Committee. And on the Sheriff's Office, I am qualified with chemical restraints, chemical agents, mechanical restraints, handgun, long gun, shotgun. So I work details right alongside sworn deputies and anything from traffic stops to serving warrants. So I have some insight into what you guys do, and I have a lot of empathy for what you do, and I understand the tools and the resources that you need. Does that mean I'm running out of time?
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Okay, so when I am serving on the council, I will make sure that you have the tools that you need, the resources that you need, the pay that you need, and I'll make sure that you don't have to worry while you're working about where your retirement's going to come from and what you're going to do in your older years. So thank you.
Thank you.